On today's episode of Gathering the Kings.
One of my mentors sat down with me. He's a golf nut. He actually kind of knew about the concept. And I talked to him. I showed some concepts. He's super nice, super gracious. He just looked at me and smiled. He goes, "This is great, but this is really not some place I can go see myself." So that's a nice way of saying your place sucks. And then level up.
What's up, everybody? I'm Chaz, Wolfe, Gathering the Kings podcast. We are back on the King stage here. Billy Brown is joining me here today, my brother Billy. How we doing?
Man, doing fantastic, Chaz. So excited to be here. So excited to actually have this time together with fellow King. And
Yeah,
I'm ready, man. Let's go.
that's good, man. Well, so I want to give you some opportunity here to share your story, but I can already tell. I'm going to just give this to the listener real quick. This is going to be an electrifying conversation. Billy and I, even just in the last 5 minutes, have been like sparring about just great business stuff. And I'm like, okay, let me hit the recording button. So this is going to be a really fun conversation. Billy, tell us what kind of business that you have first.
Well, I'm one of those unicorns. So I've done a little bit of everything. And when you hear my story, you're like, that is like the most ADD thing I've ever heard until you actually hear the story. And you'll see the alignment of everything that I've done. I equate it to, if everyone's like, watch the movie Slumdog Millionaire.
Yes.
At the very end, everything lines up at the end going, oh my gosh, his entire life lined up to this point. And that's what I'm seeing now. So that's the hope I want to give and the encouragement I want to give your listeners. So my original background is actually on golf, and that led into being broke and very broken and almost try to re-emergence on the scene in 2008. You know what happened in 2008. And then I got into mortgages, residential mortgages, which led me into absolute depression and led me to getting into commercial lending. Now teaching that, all that's kind of what most people know me for in the real estate world is being a very creative lender and also syndicator. So we syndicate an apartment complex, an office complex. And then I got this crazy idea for the golf sanctuary, which is everything that you can possibly imagine as far as life and alignment and all that. We'll go into that detail soon, but I created an and in my life instead of then. And we'll get to that in a second. But
Wow.
It's pretty amazing what happens when you take those steps. And we did all that in the middle of COVID.
Wow. There, you just led us to a huge cliff and then left us there. And so I want to unpack some of this and obviously give you a chance to tell a story, but tell us what the golf sanctuary does. What do you do? How can people do work with you? Like, what do you got?
What do you got? So the golf sanctuary, and I tell people this all the time, so if you walk in the golf sanctuary and all you see is golf, you completely miss what we did. So the golf sanctuary is a community. So we create a community for affluent business leaders and their families around an elevated culinary experience and a game we mostly love.
Wow, I love
like
that.
Golf is just the common language.
Yeah.
It's about community and diving deeper community. And then also through that, creating, if you heard the term parallel polys,
Yes.
parallel society. We all do. You do masterminds. I've done masterminds. I've created my mastermind. I've been in several. The entire idea of that mastermind and that alignment of like-minded men, leaders, women, leaders is there. So now we have a group of community of everything we possibly need in one building, one membership. And then as we grow, it's different locations, it's all there. So the things that get that alignment of, I'm not gonna share the whole thing right now or off the bat, but the whole alignment of, we have these little silos of our lives. We think if we're doing one, we're taking away from the other one. If I'm playing golf, I'm taking away from my family.
That's right.
If I'm with my family, I'm taking away from my business. If I'm business, I'm taking away from my spiritual relationship. It's in all that. And it wasn't until I aligned everything for a different direction and said, oh my gosh, this is how you go do it.
Yeah.
That everything fell into place where like, it's all right there. So when I'm doing one, I'm doing the other and glorifying everything else.
Yeah.
That's what we did the golf sanctuary. Everybody can participate in that as far as the community.
Yeah, like you said, we'll get more into maybe the depths of that, but what you're talking about is huge, and it's what I call work-life obsession. And we're going to get to some of these questions that I have asked hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs. But given your background, I already know we're going to be in alignment, but I'm going to be curious to see what language that you use. And so the first question that I ask every guest is always their why, but really the kind of the way I position it is the burning desire. And so you've kind of given us this like quick snapshot of, I've been involved with a lot of things. What I'm doing now is maybe like a culmination of purpose and this and that, and it brings people together and it's like all these things. But For you, what's the burning desire for Billy? Like what is the bigger picture? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing life?
Man, I tell you what, I'm going to give the shallow answer and then I want to give you the bigger answer. So the shallow
Okay.
answer is I did it because I wanted to play more golf.
Yeah.
Really, flat honestly, I wanted to play more golf and I feel guilty about it. We coined this term about golf guilt. I mean, I used to play professional
Yeah.
golf. I used to play 4 or 5 times a week. And then I went down to 4 or 5 times a month and then 4 or 5 times a year and then nothing. And then when that is your passion and that gives you your community and it's taken away because of guilt, family, all that,
Right.
you left like a shell of a man.
Billy, you gave us the shallow answer, but what's the not so shallow answer?
I know the shallow answer is more golf, but hey, I mean, everyone's got that passion. But the in-depth answer was, we're in Nashville. Nashville songwriters used to think about the muse. When the muse strikes and you get that download from an infinite intelligence from God about a song, you just stop. Well, this is something that's been like dropping on me for, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 years. I kept on coming back to it and modeling all that. Long story short, I mean, every step I took brought me 5 steps closer. And all of a sudden, it's like everyone I talked to about this idea had that same idea, but didn't take the steps.
Wow.
Because I took the steps, amazing things happen. So the big answer is, I mean, I'm telling you right now, this is a divine moment, a divine calling, and a divine movement of what we just created.
Yeah.
Because the things, and I'll share through podcasts, like the things that have happened to get the golf tanks where they were, is like, you couldn't have scripted this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have scripted like all the things that have happened that you thought were crap that end up being, oh my gosh, that cleared the path.
Right.
That actually cleared the path for us to go make this thing happen. And it's actually set us apart. So it truly is a divine calling. And again, there's a reason why we call it the sanctuary.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I mean, I had a domain register before I kind of pot this back out called like a speakeasy, which is more bar model. And then when I lost that one, the word, again, a download, that God tap, it's not a speakeasy, it's a sanctuary.
Yeah.
We need a sanctuary, especially as leaders, executives, and all that, not only for ourselves.
Yeah. Well, just from what I know of speakeasy and sanctuary, right? Like, let's just go into this for a half second, because I think it's actually super applicable to entrepreneurs everywhere. And it bases off of what you already said about kind of like everything working together in life. And I referenced work-life balance. For Gathering the Kings, it's really been, I got my family mastermind shirt on today. We just got back from Bermuda because it's about vacations. It's about vacationing with other awesome people like Billy and his family. It's about marriage. It's about parenting. We did sessions on the actual cruise and the island in Bermuda about parenting, marriage, and how that all ties into business. And it's like, okay, so I see what I'm doing. I see what you're doing. But for the listener, really what you're talking about is this wholesome perspective, because as entrepreneurs, there is no off switch, right? And it's not like I can just go down to the speakeasy, which is secretive and it's over here, whether it's my business that I treat like this, or whether that's my family that I treat like this. It's over here. It's down in a cellar. Nobody knows about it. It's dark and quiet and it's secretive, right? As opposed to when you think of a sanctuary, you think of bright lights and big windows and like this is how we do life. And this is part of who I am, my identity, my beliefs, right? So speak to some of this, because I think we're putting some magical stuff here.
So you get back this, the sanctuary is like, it wasn't my word. I mean, it came to me. It's a complete download. So think about it, especially in the middle of COVID. I had been working this for 7 years, maybe 8 years, maybe 9 years. I can't remember. Like it all runs together. Way pre 2019. We're trying to model it out. And my background obviously is lending, trying to financially model the thing out, make it profitable. And It didn't hit me until 2019 in an opioid coma from my shoulder surgery that this is it. It made all sense. Yeah. And I modeled it out, made sense. But yeah, the whole idea there of, especially in the middle of COVID, as an entrepreneur, you just need a place to go exhale.
Yep.
Think of that Mastermind. It's like you're around your people, but it's so small and intimate and just, it's an investment. It's pricey. Yeah. Same thing about why people join country clubs, but they can't. They need a common language. Yeah. For you and I, it's real estate, entrepreneurship. Right. For others, it could be something else. But to get that business community, that family community together, you need a bigger common language called golf and food. Yeah. And not just any kind of food and not just any kind of golf. Like we elevated it because that's what we wanted to attract. Yeah. So that whole idea of being able to check out your celebrity status. And I tell this, like when you come to the golf sanctuary, You may be Chaz out here in podcast land and you're high five and up on stage being rah rah and all that. When you walk in the golf sanctuary, you're just Chaz. And you can hang out with just Billy and just Eddie and just Brian and just, we're just real.
Yeah.
And you're able to just exhale and go, man, I can just check it out the door. I have my safe space.
Yeah.
And I can bring my family here and I can do business here if I choose. I can do life here if I choose. But it is truly a sanctuary. And when you walk into that place and every subsequent location we open, I'm very adamant about when you walk in, you feel like you get a big hug from an old friend.
Yeah.
You just have that, like, this is what I've been missing. This is what I've been missing.
Yeah. There's a uniqueness. It's not just community. Yes, that's a big part of it, actually, for both of us, but it's another level. It's intentionality. It's authenticity. It's, creating a space that creates or gives way for emotion for people who aren't always allowed to. And I put myself in that category. I'm not a very emotional person, but in the traditional sense, but what I know is that it's lonely at the top. We've all heard that. What I know is that most entrepreneurs, most meaning all, create themselves an island very naturally, actually, because they're building a business. They're not like anybody else in their world. My church buddies aren't like me. My high school buddies aren't like me. My fill in the blank. And so therefore I'm different. I can't share things with my team, at least all of them. I can't share all of them with my wife. Like, there is a certain island that gets built. And so when you say sanctuary, or when you say a peace, or when you say like a deep breath, exhale, that's real.
It's real. Yeah. You let the guard down. And I learned some of this, again, the whole thing I touched on, Slumdog Millionaire and all that. The whole thing I learned from this, my other background in Oklahoma is wrestling. So Oklahoma State University wrestling is, was until recently a mecca for wrestling. I grew up inside the wrestling room. I actually interned at USA Wrestling in Colorado Springs. So at that time I was like, I'm the first golfer actually on the Olympic site. So for the Olympics, but I interned at the wrestling. But my peer group was wrestlers and Olympic athletes, and seeing their work ethic, and I don't know how many gold medals I've worn around my own neck from friends that have won gold medals. And you know what their common language is when they go and do stuff to go relax?
What?
They fish and they golf.
Yeah.
And their buddies, they don't want to be around they need to be around other people, but like they're going to go do that with other peer groups of something different other than wrestling and working out, all that. And they can go talk about this, but they're actively doing something else. That's why you get invited to go play golf. And it's absolutely, if you play, it's good, but like, it's a hit index of, 100 a day.
Yeah.
And I don't have 6 hours. And if you're awful golfers, I'm not going to take you to my golf course. It's just going to kick your ass. It's a hard golf course. After 6 hours and, by the third hole, you're miserable and I can't raise money from you because you're miserable, you're hot, you're sweaty and all that. It's like,
yeah,
can't do it. But we want to have that community, you want to have that something go like common, like versus just sitting across from each other having lunch.
Right.
Dear God Almighty, don't invite me to lunch. Please don't. I hate lunches. I hate lunch meetings. Let's get active. We're both active guys. Let's get active. Yeah. Because when you do something with somebody,
that's right.
You share an experience, you're forever bonded.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost those exact words. We just did an in-person event in Georgia, and, we had probably 30 entrepreneurs, and some spouses were there as well. And one of the parts of the recap video that we had made, one of the entrepreneurs is like, yeah, we went on like a 6-mile hike and we did all these things, but you're talking about being active and how we bonded over the experience. And so each one of us experienced the hike differently, not only just the actual hike or the other activities that we're doing, but inside of that, we had awesome discussion points and really created some awesome moments of like people really thinking and sharing. And so people experience those things different ways. And then to be able to share it, it was almost like what you just said in like verbatim terms. Tell me just for a half second, because what we're talking about might to the listener feel a little bit woo, right? A little bit frou-frou. I mean, right? Because like we're going there and like charge the hill, and I'm definitely down. Like I get pumped up when I think about like that part of being a king, right? But the emotional intelligence of a king is also just as important. And that's really what we're talking about. Not only the emotional intelligence of like being self-aware and knowing what we need and exhale, but also surrounding ourselves with other people that value the same thing. So For that person listening right now, that's feeling like having an experience together at a golf sanctuary or on a hike,
Yeah,
how is that beneficial to me as an entrepreneur?
it is. I mean, it is the essence of what it means to be in community, because the great book says where there's two, there I am. That sharing that spiritual experience, you cannot be on an island. I isolated myself for a long, long time. Golf, it's what you do. You're there to kick everyone's ass. So
Right.
you're not there to go be a friend. That's not what it's about. That's not what life's about. It's meant to be shared. And the stuff that you know and the stuff I know together, it's not a 1+1=2. It's 1+1=1 million.
Yeah.
Because you can share, we'll say one thing. And I'll give you an example. Like I had a friend that's in Memphis, and she texted me, said there's a tornado went through, and she's a single woman, didn't know how to go handle some of this stuff. And I just gave her some advice going, well, think about this. Now, my thought didn't solve her problem, but it spurred a question
That's right.
in her that she's able to ask another question that led her to the solution.
Yeah.
One thing, and saved her probably $15,000
Yeah.
right there. And it's not because I'm like a genius, but it's I listened to my gut and I shared it and I was open about it. Same thing with those hikes and experiences. It is for you, but it's not for you.
Yeah. It's for the collective.
It's for the collective. It is for the greater good, because if I help you, you help your tribe.
Yeah. That's right.
And my little help to your tribe means like, oh my gosh, that means the world to me, because I gave a little bit of me. I can't change the world, but I can change a little bit.
Yeah.
I can't impact everyone, but I can impact one person who maybe will impact others, who maybe will impact others, that ripple effect.
Yeah.
And stop living on an island.
Yeah. The community piece and the ripple effect are real, especially as an entrepreneur listening right now. They're thinking that maybe they haven't built a big business yet. Maybe they have. Maybe they got a couple $100 million business and they're on an island. The reality of it is that person who's on an island doesn't realize the actual impact that they have. Yes, of course, their team and their family, those are big. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But the impact that can be had on the collective, coming to Golf Sanctuary, joining a mastermind group like Gather the Kings, or being in a local community, helping your, nonprofit of choice, like all of those things are what a king does because they realize the ripple effect. And it's like just one little afternoon working on a house through Habitat for Humanity, or doing push-ups like we're going to do in July, 1,776 push-ups for the wounded warrior. Like all of these things that we do because we have influence and impact, one person and then another and then another and then another. And I think we just disregard, or maybe we don't fully realize what that influence really is, or the value of the influence. Would you agree?
There's not anyone that I've met that diminishes their own influence. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, we as athletes have been trained to be the dumbest people in the room, right? And entrepreneurs, if you're always the dumbest person, you're going to suck up knowledge. And therefore, like we tend to feel like we're the dumbest person in every room because we're designed to be that. Well, that every room we go into, it levels us up.
That's right.
Well, we have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge through that to be shared. And I diminish myself all the time. So the hardest thing and the first thing you learn in emotional intelligence is, your value is value, not based on what you think.
Yeah.
When you share, especially if you're tapped into that woo-woo stuff, like if you listen and just trust that the words you're going to say is going to be impactful, they will land and be impactful.
Yeah.
It's not up to you to be how that is. Like those seeds will land. It may not take roots in, but like if you speak life,
That's right.
it's amazing what happens, and just got to be open to that, because everyone can be used for the greater good.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, there'll be good or bad seeds, right? There'll be a good impact or a bad impact, one or the other. It's really just your choice. You're going to make an impact one way or the other. You said a couple of things that lead me to believe that we share a commonality here. You've used the phrase infinite intelligence, and you've used you didn't say this, but you basically shared the definition in your community example there of spurring her onto another thought of masterminding, all from Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And it's an agitation of mind. It's a download, all of these things. And so tell us, is that a book that you've read? Is this principle, the 13 principles and the 31 failures that you live by? Like, give us some more here.
So every January, I read Think and Grow Rich. And sometimes I start in December. Every January and December, I read it. And I have for the last probably 5 years, maybe 6 years, just to go through it, because it spurs things. It really spurs. And every time I read, like I see something new. I actually have my dad's copy from the early 1960s.
Wow.
And of course, now that I'm almost 50, like the print's too small. So someone actually got me like the large print for Christmas. So it was a great gift. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, it's like 4 words per page.
Yes. You gotta
But
be careful
I
with those
read it.
though. I don't know if you've held them outside next to each other. They changed it.
They did. Yes. I had them side by side. So like some stuff was like, was that actually in original text or not? Some stuff is materialistic. Some stuff isn't.
Yeah.
To overall, but I mean, the whole idea of infinite intelligence, and dialing our radio frequencies. And you got to remember, like when that book was read, we can go down, this path about Napoleon Hill.
Totally.
And when that book was read, like radio waves were just coming out.
Right.
The stuff he's talking about now, like 100 years later, like we're doing this now.
Right.
We're communicating on a level through electricity
Right.
across the globe,
Yeah.
face to face.
Oh.
And they're already talking about that back then. And they kind of thought it was crazy. The other book was, I don't know if you read this one, Outwitting the Devil.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a favorite.
For those that have not read that one yet and may struggle with a little bit of mental health issues, read that one. That will lift your lid massively when you go read through that thing. And that is just as meaty and steaky as Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah. I actually had a client of mine this morning text me and ask if I had heard of that book and if I had suggested he'd read it. And I said, actually, I love the book. It's one of my favorites, but I knew how many times he's read Think and Grow Rich. I think it's maybe only once or twice. And so I actually said, don't read that one yet. Go back to Think and Grow Rich and read that one again. And so like you, I read it every September. Actually, this year I've read it a couple of times already, just because I'm in that season of like, okay, I'm really getting things that are applying to for things that I'm working on. What would be your takeaway? I mean, you've given us several already, but for the person listening right now that's heard about it, never read it, or read it once, like I did the very first time 10 or 12 years ago, and was like, what in the world is this? And I kind of like disregarded it for a few years. What would you say to that person?
So I actually kind of found my own little system formula for achieving what I want through that, and through a little bit of some masterminding stuff and some, actually for shocker, I just watched The Secret first time in my life, like 6 months ago.
Sure.
I'm in a book with John Assaraf. I know about the law of attraction, but actually never watched it. And then watched the movie that kind of goes along with it. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So anyway, I'll boil it down to like the 3 things that I do to go achieve my goal. So one is a vision board, and you got to have it very simple. You can't have it cluttered.
Yeah.
And I put it on top of my TV. Now my daughter's 6 and moves it to go watch Netflix, but I have my vision board there for that. And I just keep like 4 areas that are really important to me. Everything else kind of falls in place on my vision board, but just kind of that attraction to that and seeing myself in there.
Yeah.
The second one is the auto suggestion. So every morning before I go work out, I read my affirmations and all that. Speaking, and I grew up in a household where words did not matter, especially as man. That's a whole other subject. But our words are powerful.
Yeah, they are.
The words we say and the words we don't say.
Yeah.
That's why there's a big call out there to silence men.
Yeah.
And when we stay silent, it's awful. So the silence there, not only speaking life into others, but speaking life into ourselves.
That's right.
And speaking what we need to hear and believe and all that, and speaking that out there to attract that. And the third thing I actually learned was pretty amazing. And it kind of reminds me of like golf too. There's a whole bunch of like golf psychology books that came out in the 90s that I read. But I actually put this down, actually did this, that our brain does not know if it actually happened or not.
That's right.
So I write a letter to myself, posted, dated 12/31 of this year, 2023.
Right.
Gratitude with the things that I want to accomplish as if they've already happened.
As if they've already been done. Yeah.
And that freaks out your brain so bad because like, wait a minute, this hasn't happened. It's going to go to work on how it goes happens. It's amazing what happens when you do that. So you do so I do those 3 things right there. And it's not perfect, but it draws everything to you. The law of attraction, so fighting for it. You're just patient. The universe is working crazily on your behalf to go achieve those things that God's put in your heart.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of complexity or that could come across as complexity in what we're talking about, but boiled down is what you pay attention to tends to happen and what you look for, you tend to find. And so what what Bill has given to you here as a listener, I want to encourage you that not only I've done these same things for years and years and years now, but I've been able to look back. Like I find a piece of paper and go, oh my goodness, this is something I was reading 5 years ago. And all of this is like mind blowing to the T. And there's a lot of like woo around attraction or belief or whatever. It's like, look, what you put your mind towards, you then begin to train your subconscious. Your subconscious is what controls all of your daily actions, 95%. And so the way that I walked up the stairs today, the way that I pressed the record button here today with Billy, the way that I sat down in this chair, the way that I'm sitting right now with my legs crossed, like all of that is subconscious. But I can rewire how and why I do those things based on what I feed myself. In essence, that's what Billy's saying. So all the things that you just gave are super practical. I love all of them. We should just do a podcast just on this. In fact, I've had a couple of other guests where we just need to do a Think You Rich roundtable.
Roundtable. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm down for that. Yep.
I think that would be pretty cool. But for the listener's sake right now, I want them to be able to walk away with something practical, which is, look, identifying what you want. And yes, it can be material. It can be something physical, but it can also be conceptual, meaning peace in your home and then visualize, what does peace look like? What does it look like coming into your home and things being peaceful or quiet or harmony in between you and your wife or you and your children or whatever that looks like? You can have whatever those things are in your heart that, like Billy said, that you can have. It's just a matter of articulating them in enough detail and emotion on a regular basis that your subconscious starts to take action.
The emotion is the key part of it.
Yeah, it really is.
That's the fuel.
Hey, Chaz, Wolfe here. As many of you know, I have been on an absolute mission to help entrepreneurs from all across the country in many different industries level up their game and grow their business and intentionally connect with other entrepreneurs. We do that obviously through the podcast, but we also have a peer-to-peer mastermind group specifically for 7 to 9-figure business owners. We are bringing some of the best and most successful entrepreneurs and minds together in a regular and a super intentional way to not only grow our network, but to be able to leverage. And at a certain point in business, success becomes about leverage, leveraging time, leveraging resources, leveraging key relationships. This is exactly what we're doing inside of the peer-to-peer mastermind group called Gathering the Kings, specifically for 7 to 9-figure business owners. So if that's you, if you're ready to level up your 7 to 9-figure business even to the next level and get around other big hitters just like you, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com, fill out a short application, and it'll come to an application call with me, and I want to chat with you to see if it might be a good fit. Talk soon.
To keep us moving here, because I really want to keep going on Think and Grow Rich, but for the sake of this show, let's not. I want to know the good decision that you made. So you built a wonderful place called Golf Sanctuary, and we've talked about all the benefits and the just incredible impact that you're having. But I want to know the good decision practically inside of building it that's led to a lot of your success.
Oh, that's a good question. The good decision. Wow. It's just, being faithful. Because everyone has ideas.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, and this is where we get a little deeper on it. I'm sorry, we'll go as deep as you want to go, Chaz. But so 2019, things were rocking, absolutely rocking. I actually left my W-2 job to go on my own and had like everything lined up, do the lending. Things were looking great. With some masterminds, talked about this is like sitting on my heart. And of course, people don't understand what the hell I was talking about. I was like, whatever. You talk about lending, we can understand that. But like golf sanctuary, what is that conceptually? And I couldn't really formulate it. Yeah. But figured it out. And in March of 2020, we had a lunch and learn scheduled. So I had like 25 people RSVP, early March.
That didn't happen.
2 days. Yeah, well, wait, it was actually before all this. So hold on. Okay. So 2 days before, driving home with tzatziki's, and we got T-boned. So hit my daughter's side, destroyed the car. Next day was a tornado in East Nashville, killed 22 people. And I lost 20 people who were going to come because like they had real estate, they had helping or whatever. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, the people showed up and honored, like, thank you for coming. Let's talk through this. It went pretty good. The weekend after that, another storm came through and took out our power and all our food for 4 days. Wow. The week after that started COVID.
Yeah.
I was on a podcast and I had a suspicion capital markets were going to shut down, but I texted all my lenders and it was on a podcast virtually, obviously. It was like, hey, is this program I'm talking about still available? And I said, yes, yes, yes. Two said no. And I'm in the middle of the podcast to talk to, 150, 200 people. And I get a text message going, capital markets are shut down. I lost $250,000 in commissions just like that.
Wow.
And then, you know what, the hell just broke loose after that. And after that, you're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Like, what literally just happened? I have this great, I think things are going great. And then like the world just went.
Yep.
And I was married at the time. Well, my then wife and now ex, we're still on great terms. But, you know, we're just sitting there talking. I was getting real and I almost went to a little pity party. And then I said, F it. I said, I'm going down swinging. We're going forward to golf sanctuary. And it's like, because by then my hunch told me that by the time we got something up and running, we'd be on that backside of this thing where everyone else would pause.
Right.
And I also knew the companies that grew out of the Great Depression.
Yeah.
I knew that history from the stuff that we read in, I think, Neuro Rich and others, like those seeds, the smallest companies that grew in that and grew roots deep,
Right.
flourished when it's time to flourish.
Yeah.
So we went forward with it. And all of a sudden, everything like opened up. I mean, that faithfulness, that great decision, that faithfulness to take that next step was amazing. It was hard as hell. God, it's hard as hell.
Yeah.
But we took the steps and we're reaping the rewards right.
Yeah. That you gave a great picture there. I don't want to dissect it too much. The story kind of did it on its own, but the thing for the listener here is that we all have these moments, and actually we have them repeatedly to go in again and again, all in, actually, not in, but all in. And so I appreciate you sharing that. I'm sure that moment was like extremely vulnerable. And like you said, it was like a little bit of a pity party. And then you kind of just said, you know what, here's what we're doing. And if we're referencing back to Think and Grow Rich, that was your definiteness of purpose. It was like clear as day, boom, I've decided. And that's what the listener can take away from this scenario is that when you've decided something, it is, unless you don't believe it. But a lot of times, if you can couple, that's where that emotion comes in. If you can couple the belief or the emotion with the decision, it's just a matter of time. And so that's kind of in essence the approach you took was, I don't know how things are going to shake out. I'm going to build this thing. Well, hopefully we're going to catch the back end of this, which you did. And so great job on the hunch there. But man, it's not always easy. And definitely in that moment where you're just like, we're going to do this, but I don't have a clue what it looks like.
No, there's that faithfulness. The faith is like, I knew. You just know. I mean, I don't know what else. Like you just know. I have complete faith that next step was going to be lined out because what it says. You know, like you will make your path straight, flat. I mean, not necessarily like easy, but you know, he'll take you just take one step. The next step will reveal to you. That's all again, back to the stuff we know about chasing dreams and goals, all that. All you just take one step towards that and go. And one thing I want to say about the decision. And this goes back to my ex as well and give her complete credit for this. She says this often. Is it a thought or is it a decision? Thoughts come and go. Decisions are powerful.
Yeah. Wow.
When you make that decision, you know, it's amazing how the universe conspires in your favor.
Yeah, it's true. All right. Well, what about a bad decision that you made that you can look back on and go,
So kind of referencing like Robert Kiyosaki, you know, he says there's three sides of the coin. There's the heads, the tails, and on top. And there's no good, no bad.
Right.
You know, so everything works in our favor. And so there's decisions that I made that did not work out.
Yeah. Give us one of those.
Actually, here's one right here. You'll like this one. The decision to start small. This actually is more applicable. Real estate investors, start small, start a single family home, work your way up, learn. And the bad decision there, which I got caught on was, and actually called out on, was like, you cannot have the community that you want and attract your clientele thinking this small. Right. In fact, one of my mentors that I really appreciate dearly comes from Affluency. Sat down with me, he's golf nut. He actually kind of knew about the concept. And I talked to him, I showed some concepts. He goes, super nice, super gracious. And just looked at me and smiled. He goes, this is great, but this is really not someplace I can go see myself.
Interesting.
My friends.
Yeah.
So that's a nice way of saying your place sucks and then level up.
Keep going or keep iterating.
Keep iterating, level up.
Yeah.
And then back to the go big or go home type of thing. I was like, okay, message received. So I went back, reiterated, found a different property that was bigger. It's big risk. Oh my gosh. It was just like big waivers to sign this lease, person guarantee everything. Here you go. Here it is. We're going to go do this and bring on the team. And yeah, fortunately, I got a CEO that's fantastic and call him a co-founder because he took my concept and elevated 1,000-fold.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The first hire. And so we went big and it's paid off. So some things you do need a proof of concept on.
Yeah.
Some things you just go, this is not our clientele.
Right.
You are not going to have a mastermind at Motel 6 to
Yeah.
prove it can work.
Yep. That's right.
Because like my first iteration of this, it was a poor decision was I don't drink much. So I didn't see the value of having alcohol there in the common language of alcohol and
Right.
great food. I was like, okay, we're just going to have like the basics, thinking small, thinking too small.
Yeah.
And I got called out on it. And we hired an executive chef that's amazing, brought on some of the greatest connoisseurs of wine and bourbon and all that. So we had the best of the best.
Yeah.
When we had the best of the best. Guess who you attract?
Yep.
The best. The people that appreciate that stuff.
That's right. There's quality that you're attaching to big thinking.
I mean, our clientele do not think small. I got called out on it. I was like, you're thinking too small. Which is
Yeah.
like, goes back to like, I'm going to go cry in a corner here. It's like, oh my gosh, I've been thinking too small all my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was trying to be humble.
Right. Right.
Like that doesn't serve anyone. Being humble and thinking small does not serve me
Yeah.
and does not
Yeah.
serve others.
There's a gap in mindset before you can get what you just expressed. And you probably were there before you got called out. And possibly this is where the listener is, where, whatever it's the amount of money or the style of business that they do or the product that they offer currently is big thinking for them. But the reality here is that there's always another level. I'm sure that your original plans were big in comparison to some other people because other people weren't even doing it.
Yeah.
And so my encouragement here, because we hear think bigger all the time, think bigger, think bigger, think bigger. And it's not necessarily that you're sitting down and you can't brush off that, well, I'm already taking risks. I'm already a big thinker. It's like, no, actually, like I'm personally right now, I'm hearing Billy and Chaz Wolfe is going, yes, okay, I'm already a pretty big thinker, but I need to think bigger and I need to level up again. What are the areas? How can I think bigger? So instead of thinking, that when I was 23 or 24 and made 250,000, like that was like, whoa, on top of the world. But that would be like not a good year at the current moment at all. Like that would be really, really disappointing. And so you have to just continue to realize that there's always another level. And so that's where the humility comes in, but it's not humility from an angle of like staying low and thinking small. It's humility going, I know there's more. And I look at around guys like Billy and other guys that you got around. They're like, oh no, I would never go there even. You're like, oh my gosh, what? Right?
Yeah. And it's that thinking, may not big, is a different level, a different iteration, getting granular on it. The term I use, because we were kind of struggling with web membership. And again, for listeners, like we filled up in the middle of COVID in 15 months, from 0 to 300 memberships, over 700 on the roster in 15 months. That's unheard of. We pulled off more things than anyone else even thought of. And like the Tomorrow Golf and all that, they're talking about this. We've already done what they're talking about twice. We'll do 3 times before they even open up.
Wow.
Already done it. So that type of like thinking of like, we're just going to iterate and do this. But what the key moment, pivotal moment was, we're struggling memberships this time last year and looking at different properties to expand this thing. Cause I knew where we're going. Like, I know this is a movement. You just know it. It's a movement. The things that have happened, like this is a movement. We're just all on for the ride and being a good steward of it. Came back from looking at a property. I'm like, nah, this area is like, it's just nah. Came back in, had to use the bathroom, and we had 4 or 5 C-suite guys from a Fortune 50 company, multinational, multi-billion-dollar company in my facility, geeking out, giddy. It is like freaking Disneyland for them. Yeah. And I walked in, I went, what the hell are we doing? It's like that right there just showed me right there. I now know who we serve and why.
Right.
And so find the people that are giddy about you.
Yeah.
That's your avatar. And maybe take it up a level as far as like what the problem you're solving for them.
Sure.
Know why that's important to them, the value that you're placing on that, and then maybe take it to another level. You don't have to go with 0 to 100 million, but just like maybe take it like 1 or 2 more levels past your comfort zone to go stretch it just a little bit and
Right.
think about that. But knowing who you serve and why, the value you bring for solving their problems, it was key going, oh my gosh, the problems we solve for these guys
Yeah.
and their families, getting back to that alignment, was huge. It's like all of a sudden they got clear on everything going, oh my gosh, this takes the decision making off my plate. This
Right.
takes all the things I have to do as far as the client entertainment, the event space, the time away from my family. It's all right here.
Yeah.
The decisions that I and my team have to go make are gone.
Yeah.
Now you can go focus on solving problems.
Yeah. It's huge. Yeah. It's good parlay. My next question here, I wanted to bring that back up. The work-life obsession, this community, this wholesome perspective of this is how we just do life.
Yeah.
Cause you're doing it inside of, a physical location as well as around a centric value of golf. What does that mean for you first? And then I want you to be able to express to some of your clients that how have you been able to obsess about family and life as well as work at the same time? And then give that same picture for your clients inside of your business.
Oh, we're all obsessed. I mean, every entrepreneur is obsessed. If you're not obsessed, you're not an entrepreneur. You have to be obsessed. Yeah. But that obsession of especially the good guys, we want to serve everybody at a high level all at once and can't.
Right.
That hurts.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be a great family man, trying to be a great dad, great leader, great money raiser, great, protect my health, all that. Damn, it's hard.
Yeah.
But you got to obsess over it, and there's some sacrifice you got to make.
Yeah.
But man, that obsession it's where the alignment comes. You got to find some things that align with you. One of the great things I saw from a friend was he's a cheap person because he's a real estate investor. Like that's what you do. And he goes, I'm trying to portray myself as to go raise money, and I'm out here working at the $25 gym. It's like, what am I doing? It's like my people I need to interact with, that community I need to be with, is not here. That it's a lifetime.
Right.
So we joined Lifetime, and I don't know how much money he'd raised there because he started getting into that community.
Yeah.
He put it aside and said, that's a value for me. That's a trade-off for me. Like, well, if I need to get there, like this is not serving me.
Right.
So those are the things as far as the obsession is like questioning the things in your life. Like, is it serving me and serving my goals, or is it preventing me from achieving them?
Yeah.
And those values, and really keeping it simple on the four things. Like, I don't, when I sat down, I did my goals and vision and all that. And I actually had a couple of days, just literally sat down with like 4 or 5 pieces of paper in my house on my couch and just downloaded everything. I was like, what is important? The things I wanted to go do, the things I want to go do with my daughter and still on her. And I got these papers everywhere, write it down, come back, rewrite it, define it. And then it comes down to like the most important things. It takes 4 or 5 hours.
That's right.
Over a couple of days, but then it really becomes obsessive over like, that's clarity. What is the most important things for me? It's like, I can go spend my time on. Some stuff's frivolous. Some stuff's like, oh my gosh, like this provides complete clarity for my life. And now I can obsess over that and say no. Darren Hardy has a great quote is that he uses for his life. Everything's a no until it's a hell freaking yes.
Yeah. It's good.
But you got to know what your hell freaking yes is.
Yep.
That's the key.
That's right. Yeah. I've used that same language around hiring. I guess I've not applied it to life, although what you've talked about as far as does it serve me, those are some of the same words that I use. And if it doesn't, then it's just an absolute no, basically. But in order to know that it's an absolute no, or that it's a hell yes, you got to know what it is. What is it that you want? What is it that you're going towards? And then you can determine, does it serve me? And then it's a yes or no. Billy, I got one last question here for you. I want to know if you had the opportunity to reach back at a time and whisper in that younger Billy's ear, what would you say?
Oh, we do not have, that's a whole episode right there, man. That commercial intelligence, man, there's some deep places I can go on this one. Belief is one.
Yeah. What would you say? Just the word belief, or what would you give some structure to that? What would you say?
This is a tough one because I can literally go down a rabbit hole because I've been thinking about this a lot. The lies that I embraced growing up.
Yeah.
And that may be one of the things is like this thing is like, don't embrace the lies.
Yeah.
Do not embrace the lies. Do not, in that word embrace, like you bring into yourself other people's lies from a church community, from people that I don't know where they are now, but they had so much weight on my life.
Right.
That I took in their beliefs, and their beliefs were mine for many, many, many years and decades. And that scarred me and kept me from serving others and achieving my greatness.
Yeah.
And it's still, I'm just now getting out of that. So that's like, don't embrace the lies. So know what truth is, know what your truth is, know the truth about the value you bring, even though you don't think that you're being there, is like, it's all going to work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell from your answer there that you're right. We could probably go a little ways, but appreciate the pretty clear answer. I think that one word belief is really what keeps people. And I even told you that before we hit the record button here. I want to transfer courage. Courage and belief are very similar in that way, where it's like, I want the listener to hear what you just said and go, okay, what are those things that I believe that maybe I don't really believe, but they're on me, and I'm living underneath that belief simply just because I haven't clarified what it is that I actually believe. And so those are deep work conversations, and I appreciate your ignition to the listener to go explore those things. How can we find you? So number one, where are you located physically? Maybe somebody's listening who wants to come visit, or maybe they're in the area, they want to become a member. And then also, how can we connect with you as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So I'm actually in Nashville, Tennessee. We got a little bit going on here. 2/3 of the country's moving here because it's a pretty cool place. I just have a website that kind of is an aggregator of everything that I've got. So connect with me. It's billybrown.me. And they can learn about my lending company, learn about the golf sanctuary, and maybe some link to podcast on there and all that. That's the place that's like, hey, fill out a form. We can talk about what do you want to go be, do, and golf sanctuary, whatever. Golf Sanctuary one, if you're actually a golfer and an entrepreneur in this area, or it's the golfsanctuary.com. And we are growing nationwide. So we just released a big capital raise. So maybe come to a city near you.
That's awesome. Well, you've been incredible. Thank you for giving just straight experience and knowledge and raw emotion. We appreciate the story and insight. We wish you nothing but blessing and success and all the things that you have your hand to. It sounds like you're already pretty set and determined. So we already know how it's going to turn out.
It's amazing. I appreciate the conversation. And I know this is not the last one we're going to have.
That's right. Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to Gathering the Kings today. I hope that you were able to pull out a few nuggets to go apply into your business right away. More importantly, though, I hope that you're realizing that it takes more to be successful than just being by yourself, doing it all on your own, carrying the weight all by yourself. What I have realized, not only in my own journey from multiple businesses and multiple different industries, and now interviewing over 200 or 300 other very successful 7, 8, and 9-figure business owners, is that it's tough to do it alone. And so Gathering the Kings exists to bring together successful entrepreneurs. In fact, we are putting together 1,000 kings, specifically who are grateful but not done. We're intentionally assembling kings who fight tooth and nail for their business, family, and communities. And here's what we believe, that in the pursuit of excellence in those areas, that it ignites within us the responsibility to govern power and forge a lasting legacy. So if that relates and resonates with you, and you know that you need people around you, sharp, qualified, other very successful business owners, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com. I want you to take a look at what we're doing and see if it makes sense for you to be part of our pursuit to 1,000 kings. Talk soon.